This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and I have news for you, 8 news stories for you from yesterday that you deemed as conversational, covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news events. We're talking about the breaking news that is the airstrikes in Israel going on right now, airstrikes from Israel to Iran. We're also talking about the big parade happening this weekend and some of the backlash from that. Plus, a few other great things that you will enjoy that you actually did help us talk about. Now, we'll talk about how you helped us engage in stories and helped us get the vetted headlines for today. But let's tell you right off the bat first, this is the conversationproject.com is our online home where you can see all the fruits of our labor and enjoy them as well. You can also be a part of the conversation by talking to me directly, more or less, via email, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. And of course, our spotlight sponsor for today is Ground News. Go to this. It's a conversationproject.com/ground news, and you can get in on a great deal, 40% off their Advantage plan to get more, better detailed news, and we get a small commission as this is an affiliate link. Today is Friday, the 13th of June, 2025. I am glad to be here with you for today. We have a wrap up for this Friday of news for the full week of news. Let's get into this news. And as we say all the time to explain what happens, there is rhyme and reason to how we do this, but the actual layout of the news this morning is not just me poking them normal. This is taking the news stories that you deem more conversational and putting them in the best narrative here. Now, this one, when we put it out there, it happened middle late-ish last night, and it became the biggest story. Well, let me back up a second because we're actually getting a bit out of order. We swapped some stories to talk about the story that overtook everything as of this time yesterday with the news happening. So story number one is a miracle of a survivalist, someone who survived the big plane crash that happened in India, a man who was sitting in seat 11A, so it's called a miracle. One British passenger walked away from a crash that killed 241 other people. Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, was en route to Ahmedabad, from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick Airport, and crashed within 30 seconds of takeoff. 242 people were on board, 230 passengers, 12 crew, all died but one. The wreckage hit a medical college hostel, adding dozens of casualties toward the ground. The miracle is the man sitting in seat 11A, a 40-year-old British passenger named Vishis Kamur Ramesh, sitting in near the emergency seat, survived with injuries, but has surviving. If you look in the picture or watching the video, you can see him resting in the hospital. Scribe walking through the bodies around him as running into someone he grabbed, running until someone grabbed him. He was just in the days of what happened in the crash. Ramesh was returning from visiting a family in Guwahati, and his brother Ajay was also on the flight and was among the dead. His hospital bed revealed shock and relief. Authorities confirmed he's in stable condition at the civil hospital in Ahmedabad. Now, the aircraft struck a student dormitory at the BJ Medical College, and at least 28 people on the ground died from that collision. More believe injured from there. Rescue teams, sniffer dogs, and military personnel are still continuing to work through the wreckage. The black box was found, I guess, late last night or early this morning, so now they're going through that detail to see what happened in the actual crash. India's DGCA is leading the probe, assisted by investigators from the UK and US. Boeing is cooperating, of course. Questions focus on the modern jet's crash and how it was so low and so fast. This is the very first actual incident of this aircraft. It's been in operation for over a dozen years, and there's never been any serious issue until now. This was seen as a workhorse and a very safe plane. How it happened and so quickly are going to be the focus of all the investigations. Now, I got ahead of myself because the news that broke last night that overtook everything that otherwise this story of the plane crash will still be the top story. Otherwise, the riots and the protests in Los Angeles is this one here. Headline is Israel launches preemptive strike on Iran and declares state of emergency. That's the headline we started off with. That's the headline we're going with for this topic. But things have kept going. Things have not slowed down. Things have not quite completely escalated, but it's going pretty bad at the moment. So late last night or early this morning, based on your way of thinking of time, Israel launched a large-scale preemptive airstrike on Iran, targeting military and nuclear sites. Operations struck facilities in Natanz, Al-Fassad, and Tehran, including uranium enrichment plants and missile bases. Israel officials say the action was meant to prevent a, quote, imminent threat posed by Iran's nuclear program. Iran denies preparing for any attack at all, and of course, they're not so happy about this. Israel claimed that several top Iranian military leaders and nuclear scientists were actually killed in the strikes, so they get a twofer. They, one, stop the actual planning of strikes to happen on them, and two, they take out some leadership in Iran, which makes it harder for them to regroup and do things. Among those folks are Islamic Revolutionary Guard Commander Hossein Salami, Armed Forces Chief Mohammed Bagheri. Iran has acknowledged that damage to casualties have happened, but not extend the full extent, not actually have agreed that these are the people that have perished in these attacks. Of course, Iran doesn't just lie down. Israel declared a nationwide state of emergency, expecting for things to happen. Schools, government and offices, and public transportation has shut down. Citizens ordered to remain near bomb shelters with airspace closed. Military forces are placed on high alert. Iran launched more than 100 drones initially to strike Israel airspace, and most were intercepted by Israeli defense forces. They all say that. Tehran warned of more retaliation to come. Israel is fighting off with more strikes happening right now, this moment, as the escalation or a point to escalation is expected to happen here. Now, as we remember, for weeks, Donald Trump has been working for his new nuclear deal with Iran after killing the one that was started by Obama and not allowing them to have anything. Essentially, Iran wants to enrich uranium so they can use it for power and other industries. And Trump says, no, 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 but we're going to have a deal, however that works out. Trump has said, the United States have said, please don't attack in Iran. Israel's like, we're attacking Iran, and they went on this action without any coordination, as far as we can tell, with the United States. No knowledge, no word. Essentially, we saw the smoke come up the same time that everyone else did, and now we are dealing with it, we, U.S., on our end going forward. A story that is very kind of under the radar, which may be an issue going forward, is the headline we have for number 3. And that is Islamic State regroups fighters and plots return in Syria and Iraq. The Islamic State, the whole ISIS, those folks, they're not back. They shifted from its territorial defeat in 2019 to quietly regrouping in places like Syria and Iraq. Officials report that sleeper cells are reactivating now that changes are happening in the region, and fighters are being armed and recruited, with weapons being stockpiled for something coming soon. The operations are smaller in scale compared to 2014 to 2017, but the peak yet remains on what can happen from these fighters. Estimates say that the local governments are basically allowing them to kind of move around because they're not doing very much, but IS fighters can be around 1,500 to 3,000 across the region in the area right there, which is a lot of people who are just waiting for trigger actions to happen. Some key militants are held in camps, about 9,000 in Syria, of course, and they pose a growing risk of security collapses. So the ones that are still being held back, joining back with the fray with the regular folks, could make a difference. Adding 9,000 to 3,000 is a large number at 12,000. That's 12,000 people who are looking to attack for their reasons and their reasons alone. Late May bombings in southern Syria killed and injured Syrian troops and allied forces, marking some of the first major ISIL assaults in the post-Assad government. In 2025 alone, there have been a dozen similar incidents, far fewer than during the peak era, but enough to show that ISIS, whatever you want to call them, however you call them, in your actual region, are wanting to get back into the game. Security forces in Iraq, Syria, and allied nations are intercepting these plots, most of them suicide bomb threats, and keeping their air strikes down to minimums and raids down to small roars. So for the most part, nothing major is happening, other than the fact that there are very small pockets of IS, Islamic State, who are regrouping, starting to get a bit more bold, and these may be bigger stories in the future. So interesting happened with Senator Rand Paul. He was uninvited to the White House picnic that was happening yesterday. Just got a snub. And he talked about it. And he said, you know, it seems kind of petty, seems kind of small. The fact that I'm not down with this big, beautiful bill. I'm saying being public about what I don't like about it. And because of that, I'm being disinvited. In fact, Nancy Pelosi is coming. She's got an invite, but I don't get an invite because I'm against the bill. And of course, Pelosi doesn't like it either. So what actually happened? Well, he was re-added to the guest list. After calling the snub incredibly petty and immature, saying it felt like a punishment for opposing the big beautiful bill, he got the invite back. Essentially, it got reversed because Donald Trump and the administration doesn't really like being called out for things that don't quite work. Paul spoke out strongly against the decision to hold him back, called it unprecedented and a disrespect from the president on what was going on. Work was still being done, things were still being taken care of, but the fact that he was calling for issues with the bill and had been the whole time going forward. He suggests that punitive staffers, maybe even Stephen Miller, have orchestrated a paid influencer campaign against him, particularly because they want him to fail because he seems like he wants the big, beautiful bill to fail, not necessarily what he wants. He wants changes. He just doesn't want it because he sees all the problems with it. Now, the reversal after the backlash turned into some truth social back and forth that happened there. Now, what we hear is Rand Paul is the senator from Kentucky, or I should say a senator from Kentucky. We also hear that the other senator from Kentucky, who also had words against the big beautiful bill, was also disinvited, but did not get a reinvite for the family in time for the picnic. So there's that. We're taking a break from the news, pausing just a second from the coverage we have here to cover us. We've had a pretty rocky week here, and if I'm looking at my indicators so far, this is probably a pretty rocky broadcast going out live. It's probably pretty sketchy. There's probably glitches going back and forth. I can't tell because I'm watching the uplink and not a downlink. However, we still need your help, still need your assistance, still need what's going on from you. So if we have to, we will pull the video and upload it from the saved version. But here's the deal. I need your help. I need your help immensely. And in the last couple of days, we've got a lot of new responses, new shares, new likes, new comments, new people joining the fray, which is great. But we need to grow because our speed, our pace of growing subscribers is not at the pace we were looking for towards the beginning of the year. So if you are enjoying what you're seeing here with the news coverage I have, with the words that I'm saying coming out of my mouth, when I'm not stumbling on them, and the commentary I'm having when I'm not reading the wrong script, because apparently I was a bit distracted and put the wrong scripts in some of these stories, I need you to like, share, and subscribe to the Conversation Project, to this video, to videos on this page, to videos and other things at other places, including going to our website and clicking the links for the newsletter and for the podcast for audio and our TikTok hot takes. Like it so that we can see what we are doing well, and we'll do more of it. Like it so that the algorithm can see what seems to be doing well, and they'll share more of it with folks. Share it with like-minded people so that they will enjoy it, or maybe just sort of hate watch it. We don't judge. And subscribe so that you don't miss out on these things directly when we come out. We have this live coming out 5:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. And then we have other things coming out throughout the day that you'll get a notification, or you can see it when you check your feed. So look for us to be out there, but subscribe so we're there. Like and share so we get more people engaged, News Nerd Nation style. We already did a video on this one, and it actually has the video embedded in the video, so we're not going to do much of this, but this was such a big deal that we needed to readdress it again this morning. Democratic senator was removed from a press conference yesterday being held by Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Director, basically going over the lay of the land in what I believe now is day 6, this may be day 7 because it's Friday, of the unrest happening in Los Angeles. Last Friday, we had the ICE raids in Los Angeles that sparked some demonstrations, and they turned into the muckety muck somewhere in late Friday, early to Saturday. So they turned into the news story we've been talking about all week long. That was by Saturday, National Guard troops and Marines essentially on their way to Los Angeles to defend something. The senator we're talking about is Alex Padilla. He's a senator from California. He is a Democrat. And the issue happened while inside of this press conference. Padilla came out of another room, basically out of another office into the room, and was basically moving towards the podium. And as he started to get accosted, he identified himself, addressed things there, said, "I'm a senator. I have a question for the ex-secretary because yada, yada, blah, blah, blah," into his statement. In the melee, and the melee did begin, the security forces took him aside, pushed him out the door, and ended up putting him on the ground and handcuffing him. Now, this only lasted for a few minutes. We have video and pieces of, you can see what happened in the melee. After the press conference, Noem and Padilla had a discussion. They left on, let's say, kind words, but the kind of words that make you know that they probably didn't say kind words to themselves, just to the public, because you have to. Padilla basically, they gave a press conference after that saying, if this is how they treat a senator, think about how they're treating these folks that they're rounding up for ICE. Think about how they're treating those folks that they're deporting without any knowledge. Think about the people that they say aren't necessarily bad, evil people, but they're not targeting the bad, evil people they say they're going to target. And of course, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was speaking before Padilla interrupted, saying that they are going to stay there, they being Homeland Security and the forces that Donald Trump has mustered to essentially liberate Los Angeles from the bad government that it had. So not good words on any sides of this issue, but as day 6 continues and as the unrest, if you will, with protests against ICE, specifically anti-ICE protests, continue to grow across the nation, and with the expected No Kings demonstrations happening on tomorrow, we shall see a lot of things happening in this area. It's been a long time since the summer of Whip and Nene, but happening this week, we finally have the resolution for Ricky Lamar Hawk, known as Silentó, with the Watch Me, Whip Nene song that was just all over the place everywhere a summers back. He is going to prison for 30 years after pleading guilty, but mentally ill to voluntarily manslaughter and related charges for killing his cousin, Frederick Rooks III, in January of 2021. Prosecutors linked Hawk to the scene with ballistic testing, GPS data, and surveillance video showing his white BMW escaping the crash site. He admitted to the shooting approximately 10 days later. Murder charge was reduced under a plea deal to voluntary manslaughter with additional charges for firearm possession, aggravated assault, and concealing a death. Hawk's attorney and publicist emphasized a long history of mental illness, including depression and a 2020 suicide attempt. They noted he will serve his sentence in a facility equipped for psychiatric treatment, and in court, Rooks' family expressed pain and a belief that the sentence he got was actually too light based on what had happened, and of course, Hawk's past. In the months before the shooting, Hawk faced multiple arrests, driving at 143 miles per hour, wielding a hatchet inside a stranger's home in Los Angeles, and for domestic violence. He appeared on TV in 2019 speaking about trauma and substance abuse that he had and exposure at birth, and basically using that as the cause or the catalyst for his issues now. Of course, the murder problem made things a bit worse. The case marks a tragic fall from internet fame and personal devastation. Hawk's plea allows for mental health care in prison and a possible parole down the line, but the family's dissatisfaction remains clear. Questions linger about the intersection of celebrity, mental illness, and eventual justice. Let's talk about David Hogg, because we're really not done, I don't believe, with David Hogg, or maybe David Hogg is not done with us. But the 25-year-old Parkland shooting survivor stepped down from his DNC vice chair role this week. His decision came amid a party vote to nullify his and Malcolm Kenyatta's earlier elections over procedural concerns. Now, how is he stepping down when he basically got removed? Let me explain. Hogg attracted some internal criticism after announcing through his PAC, called Leaders We Deserve, plans to spend about $20 million to support progressive challengers against longstanding Democrats in safe seats. Many functionalities argue that the vice chair role that he holds, which is supposed to protect and groom and make good for folks in their party, was essentially a conflict of interest with a role of paying other people to take out people he was supposed to protect. He should stay neutral as a vice chair, and he definitely was not as the leader of this other group, this PAC. The DNC chair, Ken Martin, issued an ultimatum in April requiring Hogg to choose between the PAC and his party. And with that, they decided to just get rid of it all. So essentially, they dissolved it so that Martin Hogg can no longer have the spot. But it also meant getting rid of Malcolm Kenyatta. Now, how are we going to redo this? Hogg decided not to go back for the chair, so he's out of the running. But there is a procedural vote that will allow, or actually force, the two chairs to be two different genders. And you can take that any way you want to. There must be a male and a female person as the chairs, as co-chairs. And it didn't come to place originally with Hogg and Kenyatta. So they're going to redo it, and that will keep him down. And Hogg decided to pull away, which means he's no longer in the current running of the future, the DNC. But as a person with a mission and a pack, he has money to do what he's going to do. And he's a voice that's going to stick around for a while. You may not like his voice. You may not like his views. You may be kind of tired of his smug face. But he's a person who has used a tragedy to turn into a point of convention that he's using to turn into a PowerPoint. Whether he's going to run for something or whether he's going to be a background person, pulling the strings in the future, we shall see. Is there a presidency lined up for Mr. Hogg in the future, a senator spot, or just somewhere on the administration where he gets to do the Vernon Wells things and kind of sits in the back and just kind of rode off the coattails of what he did for Clinton back in the day? We shall see. This has been a week of serious news. So it's been a week that's been lacking of kickers. But as we go into the weekend and the big celebration of the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, the military, it gets its big celebration this week. It was going to happen anyway, but it turned into a big old parade, a party that's also coinciding with President Trump's upcoming birthday. And they asked the people, what do they think about this big ass party? A new AP NOR poll, CR poll, I always don't know how to call that, that organization, says that 60% of Americans think that the parade is not a good use of government funds. 38 to 40% are behind it. So not very many who are saying no opinion, about 2%. So think about that. It's good 60-40 basically say it's not a good idea. The parade is set for June 14th, tomorrow morning, featuring tanks, military vehicles, and 6,600 to 8,000 troops. Also historic aircraft with a price tag about $25 to $45 million, low end to high end. Now, if it doesn't get rained out because the weather looks terrible across the nation this weekend, 1 in 3 Democrats and independents support the parade. 2/3 of Republicans favor it. So you get that. But apparently by these numbers, they sought out a lot more Democrats in the polling because 60-40 essentially tells me it's a losing activity. Even some GOP figures with military experience say the cost is too much, the benefit's not there, and we don't do this. Senator Roger Wicker said he'd recommend against the parade. He'd recommend they should obviously get there. And the big critics are saying that it's excessive showmanship. It's something that dictators do. The Washington Post called it Orwellian, as you would think, with authoritarian pageantry. Some suggest the funds would better be spent on veterans and mental health and infrastructure that they have to pay to fix after the tanks run through the tanks in DC. But it's not happening. This is happening, like I said, other than a rain out. Alongside the 250th birthday of the Army and Trump's birthday himself, civil groups are mobilizing the No Kings protest. And not just doing it in DC, and they're actually not doing it in DC. It's 2,000 locations across the nation will have these specific protests happening, with Amnesty International warning that Trump's threat of very heavy force against demonstrators puts free speech at risk. That means Trump says if there'll be any demonstrators, I hadn't heard anybody, I hadn't seen anybody say anything, but they'll get heavy force. They will get pushed. They will be shown something if people are demonstrating their hatred for America by not celebrating this parade or by not celebrating his birthday. There are debates on what's going on with this. The cost is one thing. The American symbolism that it has, i.e. not being the American symbolism of doing this much stuff, is there. Now, let me be clear. I am a military veteran, and I'm also an Army brat, and there have been parades of things driving down all my lifetime during various events, including things like, 4th of July and having military personnel and military vehicles in local parades of all types, all things. A Humvee, a truck, a big carrier that has troops in the back of it, and troops marching down the street, waving to folks, whether in fatigues or whether in some sort of dress uniform. I have been a part of parades as a cadet in the AFRTC program and as an active duty military marching in parades for things as well. So I've been parades where I have marched in uniform, but never had someone driven a truck or a track or a Bradley or something that had heavy tanks there, or necessarily had to fly helicopters and things that really made noise through the streets for something like this because it made a show. This, as we saw when Trump went to watch Bastille Day things, that France does it, and France, although he talks about how we help out France all the time, France does a big show of force with their military because they like it. We don't, because we don't have to. We just show up with our big stick, handle business, and go home when the job is done. This is not what we do. This is not who we are. This is hopefully not who we are becoming. Teaser stories for the weekend. These are 3 stories that are queued up, ready to go for you to engage in while you're checking out our feeds all weekend long. Now, when people ask, why did I pick these 8 stories here? These 8 stories weren't so much picked by me, but were siphoned off by you as stories to talk about. Now, yesterday, the plane crash that happened in India happened so early in the morning or so late after we did the sifting for stories that it became top story because it was there. It had to be talked about. Everything was overtaken as it was going on. So we put it into yesterday. Yes, night with the airstrikes from Israel to Iran, there was plenty of time and overnight hang ringing and all sorts of commentary on that one. So that one got your attention pretty quickly. Other than that, the 2 combined stories of one, the actual aircraft, which we posted into the links, and the survivor, which we led with today, of the aircraft crash, were the highest ranking stories, 1 and 2, followed by very quickly by the very catch up of the airstrikes by Israel last night. All these other stories were ones that fought for contention as stories that gained your attention, your engagement, telling me them by what we saw, what you guys saw, posting on X and on Facebook. So go to facebook.com/This Is the Conversation Project or x.com/th_conversation and find out the stories that we are engaging in so you can engage in them. We'll pick the best ones to get to, or what we hope are the best ones. On Monday, we're going to have 90 stories to choose from. We're going to choose from about top 45, 50, top half of stories. And we're going to pick 10 stories that mean something. The rest of the week, you'll have about 30 stories in a day. We'll pick 8 from about 15 or so. These are 3 stories that are lined up already that may have your interest. I'm pretty sure we'll have a good fight for the Spaceball story because Spaceballs 2 is coming in and Yogurt is back. Mel Brooks at 98 years old had a teaser trailer coming out, a teaser post coming out, and said, yes, Spaceballs is back. We will mourn the loss of some folks are back, but Bill Pullman and Rick Moranis, who's basically not done anything except for a commercial with with Ryan Reynolds for his phone company, is coming back to star as Dark Helmet. Now, Anchor is recalling 1.1 million power banks after reports of fires and explosions. So if you have one of those, a newer one, or maybe older one in this series, check it out, and we'll see if we're going to do more talk about this over the weekend. And Disneyland says that Mr. Beast's $500,000 date with his wife, fiance, the lady of his love his life, was an after-hours experience, and they don't actually shut down the park for a day because someone pays $1 million. So they sort of explain away Mr. Beast. I bought the park for a day. Well, you did it after hours. We do those things, and that's what they're. So these are 3 stories that are queued up, ready for you to discuss. If you want to talk those stories or any of the stories you put out there, follow us on our feeds, engage in the stories, and the ones that seem most engaging, we will pull them out, give them to you here, and we'll see if I pick the right ones from the batch. Now, our spotlight sponsor today is Ground News. At this is the conversationproject.com/ground news. When you go to that link, you will get a chance to get 40% off their Vantage plan and all their plans. They have 3 tiers of plans for news coverage. It's free if you want to just get the free stuff, and it's good. But you want to get deeper details for news and go uncovering all the news, where it's coming from, and maybe the whys once you get to understand who's behind them. Check them out and see what different media companies and outlets are giving you as opposed to what the other ones that you don't see aren't. Get an unbiased perspective by seeing all the perspectives, or get all the biased perspectives and get your own perspective on your own, whether it's local, national, or global news. You can see what missing stories are going to affect your life here. Sort of like how we give you stories that are off the beaten path, aren't getting a lot of coverage. We put them out there in the feeds that are kind of there, and you tell us, yeah, we want to talk about this thing that we're not talking about on MSNBC or Fox News or OAN. So that's why we have it here. Ground News does that in spades by going through basically any story you can think about, aggregating the story to all the different sources where it's coming from, letting you know how they actually govern their news, whether they live for a right, a left, or a more down the middle sort of viewpoint, and let you see for yourself. And their blind spot feature allows you to see what stories certain sides are hiding from you for whatever reason. Download this for your phone or watch it on your laptop, your computer, your tablet. It's there for you all the time, and start seeing the news in the full detail and get behind every headline. Use our affiliate link. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news for 40% off their Vantage plan and a small commission for us on the back end. Conversation Project lives online at This is Conversation Project. On Fridays, we take a little time to give some love to our partners, our folks who go to give us monthly donations via the Buy Me a Coffee app. These include the cup of coffee level of Harold Braxton, Kobe Green, Eldon Kidd, and Joy Winters at Spare Change. That's being the $5 and the $1 respectively. There's also a $20 pot of coffee there if you really want to get into that one. And these are people who are helping us out financially. Now, this $16 minus the fees, because we pay the fees, doesn't seem like a lot, but it's $16 more a month that goes towards what we do that we don't have otherwise. We also have monetization in various ways. We have monetization on TikTok. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but apparently I'm told that. We have monetization via the YouTubes, which is why we push that as subscribers so much, because that helps pay for things. And we have things with our affiliate links and ads that help us out as well. We are not rolling in dough. We are very far from it. This is very much a labor of love and resources coming out of my pocket, my blood and treasure, if you will. But if you want to help us out in the future, there are various ways. Go to the partnership page at our website, and you can see how you can help us engage us. You don't have to do a monthly subscription, a monthly draw if you want to. They're one-time donations we can take in various forms as well. But the wrap-up that we always do to wrap up the show and wrap up the week here specifically is what we do for you. And we do it via a couple places. Number one, our website. Learn and grow with us at this is theconversationproject.com. We'll talk and grow with us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com, and help us grow by growing the your engagement, so we know what stories to talk about at Facebook and X. Facebook.com/thisisconversationproject, X.com/th_conversation. And that's how things work around here, just like that. It has been a long and a crazy week. We missed one day because I just did not have it. And then after a bit of, let's just say, Facebook therapy and some words from some folks, we're getting back into the swing of things, getting back into something. We have a bit of an abnormality in our schedules right now, so that's really part of what's throwing things off. Nothing is as it should be, and so things seem kind of weird. So as we're working on that it's fine. If you're having issues of a tired mental faculty, we want to remind you right now, good time to remind you that the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is there for you, so you can talk or text to someone via 988 on your cell phone. It's or 988lifeline.org. It's there online. So if you're in need of someone to talk to, that's there. If you need someone to talk to in general, email me and we can chat things up as well and kind of work things out as well. So if things are just feeling kind of blah, there's that as well. If you also, we don't have something for the physical symptoms, because there were some, I was semi-ill this week, but for physical symptoms, talk to your doctor, check things out, make sure you're okay, and get some rest. Get some rest. That's one thing you do. Just find some time, even if you don't have real downtime, find 5 minutes away from other folks, close the door, and just either have a 5-minute scream or a 5-minute cry or a 5-minute breathing session. Do what you need to do to alleviate some of that pressure off of you. Friday, June 13th, 2025. Still a lot of pressure to work with. And it's because, there's a lot of things going on. We went to bed last night with a lot of not great breaking news. We'll go through the weekend with some developments in these things. There'll be more work on the now issue in Iran and Israel, which they are calling a war, which might as well call it that. The issues we still have in Los Angeles and around the nation with the ICE raids and the protests that are following them up. Issues and backlash that will come from this weekend's military parade, because a lot of people who don't think it's a great thing, and other things to come. And it's only June. We have 6.5 more months to get through this year, and we're still planning on keep on going. So as things progress, for good or for ill, we're here with you, and we're here with you to have conversations, to talk about them. So comments in the videos, comment in email, comment when you can, send me what your thoughts and things. This is a way for all of us to have these conversations. And check out the video we have on my avatar. That's on my actual channel for YouTube. It's got a picture of me plus the blue Navi avatar and the avatar from the Airbender. I don't know what his name is. I never watched the cartoon, but or the movie itself. But me and a couple of avatars talking about my avatar, my target audience person, who is a 34-year-old black woman, professional woman who wants the news and wants all of it, but what does not want to get the bias involved or any of the craziness, but wants to kind of hear all sides. That's what we're trying to do, hear all sides. Not both sides it or agree with it, but hear what everyone has to say about things. And if you like what we're doing, you think I'm doing that, let me know. Thumbs up, like, love, share, and comment. Let me know how I'm doing. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in your life. Love you all profusely. Right here for Friday. No specific weekend stuff. Sunday, we might get some hot takes, but we've got family issues to deal with this weekend, a big family gathering of love. So I've got to focus on that. I might sneak in a camera, a phone thing somewhere while in the middle of the party, something like that, but that's no guarantees. We will see you doing this thing again, Lord willing, creek don't rise, on Monday.